Okay, so here we are, episode number 2 of Huddle Up, and today we got a very special guest, all-conference, all-American wide receiver from the Red Raiders, Jamie Ware. Jamie, thanks for joining us, man.
Hey, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
You bet. So, Jamie, give us a little bit of background about maybe where you started, where you played, and what got you to Shippensburg.
My start, I played. I'm born and raised in Harrisburg. Went to high school at Still High. Played 4 years of football and basketball there. Was a quarterback in high school. Pretty much the team captain. We actually went overall record was 4-40, but we were in every game. We were just fought every game. Everybody knew we were coming to town, and it was going to be a dogfight. So when I got to Shippensburg, Coach O'Neill used to come and he recruited me heavily. I came in with a lot of good players: Rodney Hart, Mike Erlison, Gary McAllister, Jeremy Brubaker. We all were freshmen, and we all started off all 44 games of our career, which was excellent. Which we all stay in touch to this day. We're on a text thread, and we talk just about every day, every morning, which is great. So that ship brotherhood is just nothing like it, and those guys kept me going.
Nice. Well, and Steel High was at a huge disadvantage there, being a small school playing the monstrous schools that you played. So you still had a very impressive career at Steel High. My question for you is this unbelievable resume with, 3-time All-PSAC, 2-time All-American. Is there one specific memory on the field that kind of stands out?
It's definitely a lot of memories that stand out for me, but I would have to say my first collegiate touchdown. I actually blocked the punt. Coach Iruli always had a great scheme of blocking punts, which I do hold records still to this day of block punts in the game, in a career, and in a season. But I blocked the punt and scooped and scored, and that was my first touchdown.
Nice.
That was an excellent. I was so excited.
Not bad.
If you see the film on there, I used to sneak. I was so little. I was only 147 pounds coming in. So getting on that scale in the locker room during camp and stuff was not my one of my favorite things to do. Especially they're like, "Oh, you're going to lose weight." I was like, "I can't afford to lose any weight."
How did you get to where you were as a senior? What did it take? You look at the Ship team right now. It's a young team, a lot of freshmen. What was your work ethic like? How did you get to that level where you came in there as a small, undersized freshman, and you end up being, all conference, all American? And really, I'm not sure you still hold the record for most yards in a career, but you had 3,442 in your years at Ship.
My football IQ had to increase, and I just became a student of the game. You go to study hall, do the classes, watch film, which I never watched film. Didn't have to watch film in high school, but I took a really liking of watching film and reading the defense and being in the right place at the right time. But, being little and undersized, I always was. So it was a challenge to me, but it was a driving factor because it was like, oh, well, he's undersized. He can't do this. And I was like, yeah, I could do anything that you could do. And when you come to college, everyone's a superstar. Everyone was a high school standout, a high school this and high school. So I was I was always a little guy in a big pond playing in, the mid Penn, against Harrisburg. I mean, I played against guys. Kenny Watson went to Penn State, played for the Bengals. Quincy Wiley played for Temple. Dave Heckert in Cumberland Valley is wrestling coach, Penn State. He played at Penn State, wrestled at Penn State. Jeremy Savi. I mean, all these guys, and I still know them to these days. But I was always the small guy. As I always said, a small guy with a big heart. You just got to go out there and play.
I think you answered one of our questions, Fran and I, when we were prepping for this. asked ourselves, like, how did this kid get recruited by a Division I school? And I think you've answered it. You just didn't fit the parameter size-wise, but that's, I think, why Division II is so valuable. It creates opportunities for kids like you who are phenomenal athletes, but maybe just lacked one thing. Sadly, you weren't quite big enough at the time, but you worked your butt off and you got to that level. By the time you were, a sophomore, junior, senior, you kept getting bigger. But I think you've answered our question, so we're not going to ask you that one.
That's all right.
I'll tell you what, though, Rob. I mean, so Jamie was in the wing T. How do you catch 3,000 yards of passes in the wing T?
Yeah. Well, I mean, the innovation, Coach Reese, that whole, if you talk about my 4 years, the first year it was wing T. We only had one receiver. We subbed in and out. By my sophomore year, we had to open up our offense. I mean, not only did you have these dynamic receivers, but we also had a running back, a staple of running backs. You still kind of ran a wing T and ran the waggle routes and things of that sort. But, we had high power. We needed to move the ball up and down the field, which my sophomore year, we played IUP neck to neck. I mean, that final score was 63-56. Most points scored in a game and that I have ever seen. And that was a battle in November. I still remember that. But yeah, it started innovating. We started opening up the offense, having two receivers and throwing the ball all around. And then when Chris Gicking came in from Villanova, which my roommate at the time was Keith Coleman, they both threw for 1,000 yards. Wow. And they were doing the quarterback rotation. Git holds a lot of the school records, but even those records have been broken because when Matt came, I mean, their offense opened up even more, Yeah. Our offense, we had a lot of Dave Klingerman. I mean, Dave was he's older than me, but Dave was one of those older guys that took me under his wing and told me, hey, don't be having no attitude. Come in here and work hard, and you'll get on the field. And when you get on the field, give 110%. He had really good hands. He blocked really well, and definitely was someone I looked up to when I was a freshman and he was a senior.
I think that leads us into our next question. What do you think sports, football specifically, has brought to you? I mean, you're now a very successful person. You're, a very proud father. You coach basketball, real good things. What role do you think football played in developing you to be the person that you are?
Football, sports in general, but football, since I have played since, like I said, over 27 years, consistently every year, it was always a brotherhood. It has always been a brotherhood for me. It allows me to work with, very diverse people. Be a team player. There's no real I in football. There's me in football. It's 11 other guys. It's 22 other guys out there and more that make up a football team. So, unlike other sports, you can kind of be an individual. With football, you got to play your part. If you don't do your part, sometimes things don't work out. So football has always been the foundation of, how I live my life. I take those challenges. I played on teams that were really bad in a sense, record wise, but we always went out there and gave it our all. And that's how I treat life. It's like, you're not always going to be on the top team. You got to make your team good. And that's what I teach, when I'm coaching, that's how I preach. That's my motto. Like, you're always going to be undersized. You're always going to be this. There's always going to be someone better than you. But one thing that you can control is your work ethic, hard work, play with your heart, and give it your all.
Jamie, you played under Coach Reese, and everybody has a great deal of respect for Coach Reese. What was it like playing for him? What was he like as a coach? How did he impact you?
Coach Reese was like from day one, he was like the father figure. Coach Reese, we had a lot of heart-to-heart talks because, as a young guy coming out of college, thinking you know everything or thinking your talents are just better than everything else, again, with football, you have to play your role. And as a young individual coming into school and again, thinking you're you was a superstar and then you're amongst other superstars, you gotta that's a hard transition. And he was just there to give it to us real and be transparent. Like, this is what I need you to do. This is, you got to be here on time. You got to study. You got to keep your grades up. If you don't do any of that stuff, you're not ever going to be on the football field. You're not going to get on a play. If you don't do the plays right and run the right, right yardage or be in the right areas, you're going to mess up the whole scheme of things. So he would talk to us like, young men, and I respected that of him. And obviously his tenure there, he was there way before me, and a little bit after me, but he knew the game, and he knew how to mold us as young men into men.
Maybe talk about your son, and are you coaching your son?
I don't coach my son with football. I coached him all the way through youth football. Obviously, he's my favorite player to watch. My son is everything that I wasn't. His work ethic, the way he approaches the game, his swag, so to say, he's everything that I wasn't, and I don't know if I could have even gotten to where he's at as a junior in high school. I was going off of just sheer talent, and he has the work ethic. He has it all, right? He has the size. He's still underweight in his mind, but I was like, hey, that's where I can relate to him. I'm like, hey, I was underweight. Like, you just got to get out there and do it. But his approach to the game is just, it's a beautiful thing. And I'm just watching him develop and work in the off season. And then he just had an amazing junior year. Their team went to the districts. They lost to Bishop McDevitt. And he had a 75-yard touchdown. Oh, nice. And everybody who sees him play, they're like, that he reminds me so much of you. I'm like, hey, man, he's way better than me. He's way better than I was at that point in time. So, I just think that he has a bright future. And all we're doing at this point is just trying to lead him in the right direction to so he could be successful, and not trying to over pump it, but like also teach him, like, if football doesn't happen, you still obviously school's number one, and I think he has a great foundation, because I'm not the only athlete in our house. My wife played at Shippensburg on the soccer team all 4 years too. So we know the rigorous duties of being a student athlete.
Yeah, so he's got the genes. He's got the genes.
Yeah, and we would love to have him as a Red Raider here in a few years. But hey, I have a question for you. With again, you're a successful guy. You're a family man. Your daughter's in college. You got a junior in high school. You have a younger daughter. Successful in business, but you still find time for Red Raider for life. Why do you? And you seem to prioritize it. There's always, you're always involved in things. Why are you doing that? Why are you giving back? We're curious because we need more people like you.
That's a very that's a good question. One is to definitely to stay connected to the brotherhood. When friends reached out and you kind of started, and I kind of stumbled on it, and we always wondered, like, why are we not doing this? Why is this not happening? Why are we all not connected? We have so much rich history at Shippensburg. And when you where we're at this point with the community is amazing, because not only you get to get around people that you played with, but others that came before you, and we're leaving something that's after us also. And to be able to stay involved in it is very important. Everywhere I go, and I traveled a lot in this world. Everybody, hey, you went to Shippensburg, and that right there is a proud thing. I wear Shippensburg gear everywhere. And I'm like, oh, and that's a common denominator, is a good icebreaker. And it's like, yeah, I went to Ship, but I also play football. And they're like, oh, wow, they have some good teams, and then they start rattling off people. So it's a familiarity about it, but, just be proud to, put that red and blue on is just, that's why I try to stay connected.
Excellent. Thank you for everything you have done.
Yeah,
Thank
and
you
we need
guys.
more
Thank
guys.
you.
We need more young guys. We need to get everybody involved. But we appreciate your involvement in it, and all you've done. All right, Jamie. Well, thanks for your time. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, great talking to you, Jamie.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me. Thanks for having me. Keep up with the great work, and let's keep growing the community.
Oh yeah, man. Definitely enjoy those kids. Thanks, Rob. Next week we're gonna have Scott Duke on, and
yeah, Scotty will be good.
Yeah, so we got it lined up all the way through January here with guys. So
sounds
awesome.
Looking good. All right, Jamie, have a good holiday, man.
You too.
Hey guys, good seeing you.
Later.